Before many children learn to tie their shoes or ride a bicycle, they know how to navigate the glow of a smartphone. Screens are a built-in feature of modern development, present from infancy all the way through adolescence. Digital access provides clear benefits, opening up vast libraries of educational content and keeping remote families connected. But those benefits arrive alongside a growing body of medical evidence detailing the physical and developmental risks of unregulated exposure to digital media. This graphic compares a resting baseline with a state of hyperarousal. Hyperarousal is a physiological condition where overstimulation causes elevated heart rates, accelerated breathing, and hyperacute senses. When young children spend excessive time on interactive devices, their nervous systems spike to mimic high-stress environments. Protecting a child's well-being in a digital environment requires looking at two distinct challenges. We have to manage how children consume media, and we also have to regulate how the media consumes children as subjects of news and content. Establishing a safe digital childhood means enforcing boundaries on both sides of the screen. It relies on the medical guidelines parents set in the living room and the ethical standards journalists apply in the newsroom. To address the consumption side, organizations like the World Health Organization and the Indian Academy of Pediatrics have reviewed the developmental data. They've established clear, evidence-based boundaries for how much digital exposure a developing brain can handle. This timeline maps recommendations by age. Infants under 2 require 0 screen time, excepting family video calls. Toddlers 2 to 4 get a maximum of 1 hour of educational programming. Children 5 to 10 are capped at 2 hours recreational time, ensuring it doesn't displace play. Across all these age groups, pediatricians strongly advise a practice known as co-viewing. Co-viewing is when an adult actively watches media with a child, pausing to explain what is happening on screen. This interaction is necessary because young brains struggle to transfer two-dimensional screen information into a three-dimensional real-world context without adult guidance. Leaving young children to navigate screens alone for hours correlates directly with adverse physical health outcomes. Extended sedentary screen behavior is heavily linked to disrupted sleep patterns, reduced motor skill development, and increased rates of childhood obesity. Setting a timer on a tablet isn't about arbitrary discipline. These limits function as biological guardrails, giving a child's neurological and physical systems the space they need to develop properly. That covers the child as a consumer. But when children become the subject of media, the responsibility shifts to broadcasters and journalists. According to UNICEF's ethical reporting guidelines, media professionals must treat a child's best interests as their absolute priority. Children caught in the news cycle, especially in cases of disaster, conflict, or crime, are highly vulnerable. Too often, publications frame them as passive, hopeless victims to drive an emotional narrative, stripping them of their agency and rights. When reporting on at-risk children, protecting their identity is mandatory. News organizations must actively obscure faces, mute identifying voices, and remove recognizable locations like school names or home addresses to prevent further trauma or retaliation. Securing permission to feature a child requires a strict, dual-layered approach to informed consent. Journalists cannot rely solely on the approval of a parent, legal guardian, or director. They must also explain the publication's context to the child and secure the child's own consent. There is an exception for reporting positive achievements, like a student winning an academic award or an athletic competition. In these instances, hiding their face isn't required, because publicizing the story empowers the child rather than putting them at risk. Journalists also frequently run into the digital footprint trap. If a compromising video or image of a child is already circulating on social media, that prior exposure does not grant a newsroom the ethical clearance to republish it or broadcast it to a wider audience. Every decision behind the camera comes down to a simple hierarchy. A child's inherent dignity and human rights must always outrank a publication's desire for compelling emotional visuals. We have the medical data defining healthy screen limits, and the journalistic frameworks defining ethical representation. Combining these two perspectives gives us actionable tools to manage the digital landscape. This infographic outlines a family media use plan recommended by pediatricians as a primary tool. It focuses on 3 distinct pillars:
prioritizing outdoor physical play, designating areas like the dining table as device-free zones, and fiercely protecting sleep routines. Protecting sleep requires removing digital devices from the bedroom at least a full hour before bedtime. The blue light emitted by screens actively suppresses the production of melatonin, a hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycles, making it physically difficult for a child to rest. Outside the home, media students and working professionals carry an equally strict mandate. They are required to evaluate every story involving a minor, ensuring they maintain anonymity and prevent sensationalism from placing vulnerable subjects in danger. True digital wellness requires a coordinated effort. By enforcing strict limits on what children consume and demanding ethical care in how they are represented, we can ensure their technology supports active, real-world growth.